Pollution. What is pollution? Pollution is the introduction of harmful chemicals in the environment, and that makes our environment deviate from normal functioning. What are some sources of pollutants available in our Caribbean? We can narrow this down by looking at point sources and non-point sources. Now, point source, it is easy to identify. Non-point, they're harder to identify and harder to address. After the pollutants have entered into the environment from their sources, they are channeled through pathways in the environment. Pathways such as the air, the land, the water, our food chains, our food webs, and so on. In the environment, we have things called environmental receptors, and they can be both terrestrial or aquatic, that are exposed to the toxic chemicals in the pollutants. And when these pollutants are introduced to the environment, they can cause several impacts. Eutrophication, algae blooms, degradation of our air quality, ecosystem destruction that results in biodiversity loss and habitat destruction, fish kills from oil spill, and so on. Since we know that the pollution can cause these adverse effects on the environment, there are several ways in which a country can mitigate pollution. And depending on what type of pollution it is, whether it be air, land, or water pollution, pollution mitigation speaks to limiting or the prevention of harmful chemical substances from entering into our environment. And here are some ways. For example, bioremediation, where they use living organisms to transform, destroy, or immobilize the contaminants. That's if the pollutants are already introduced in the environment. We can also sensitize our Caribbean population on the effects of pollution. And when they are sensitized or even educated, they will consider sustainable practices, minimizing the introduction of contaminants in our environment. We can also have legislations which govern pollution in our environment, environmental impact assessments. And in an environmental impact assessment, there is the identification of likely effects of activities or projects on the environment and on human health and welfare. This is a good way to mitigate pollution. Governments can also provide incentives to those who are advocates for the prevention of pollution in the environment. They can also provide monetary benefits to those who exchange waste, for example, bottles. And lastly, penalties. Penalties strengthen the effectiveness of governmental legislation on pollution in the Caribbean. In concluding, we need to become abreast of the pollution conventions. Let's start with the International Convention for the Prevention of Marine Pollution, aka MARPOL. Prevention of marine pollution from ships and other aquatic transportation methods, regulating the oil, the noxious liquids, the harmful substances, the sewage, the garbage, and the air pollution that occurs in or on the ocean. Then we have the United Nations Convention on the Law of the Seas. And this was coined in 1982, and it lays down a comprehensive regime of law and order in the world's ocean and seas, establishing rules governing all use of the ocean and their resources. This is a common one, Montreal Protocol. And the Montreal Protocol was coined in 1987, and it speaks to substances that deplete the ozone layer, It's a treaty that was designed to reduce introduction of air pollutants that deplete our ozone layer. There's also the Cartagena Protocol, and this is an international agreement that regulates the movement of living organisms from one country to another. There's also Basel, United Nations Conventions on Climate Change, Kyoto Protocol. These are some conventions and agreements or treaties that you need to familiarize yourself on going forward to the exam on Friday. Well, guys, good luck. I'm expecting all grade ones. These were some guidelines to your study. I wish you the very best. Make me proud. It's my favorite subject, and I can't wait to see your grades. Thank you.